So this is Baruch here. I'm at the Tikkun Elevator Kol. Let me see if I can get this together. And here we come to Rabbi Mimran. Actually, this is back to Rabbi Mimran after a tremendous view that he gave us of the great Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan, writing in English, incidentally. So now we come to the concept over here that he wants to talk about. It's a concept of nothingness. That's very interesting because nothingness is the God himself is nothing. Very hard for us to understand. It's impossible for us to understand that. Let's see what he says. First, I'm going to read the Hebrew because it's a couple of words that really need translated, particularly the word tikkun. Klal, he says, the general rule of tikkun, is that the lower worlds, which is us, should be clinging to the upper worlds, which are spiritual, pure spiritual, and related to nothingness. Hakol be'ein sof baruch hu, until everything that exists will be clinging to the ultimate reality, the Ein Sof, which is called the Endless One. Baruch hu, may his name be blessed. Vaz nikra shehakol echad, and then you say that's the concept. B'yom hahu yiyar Hashem echad u'shmo echad, that everything becomes in oneness. V'zehu tishlum ha'emsa. This is called I'm not sure what this means, the completion from the inside. So he says Emsa means really the middle. This is called the completion from the middle, because the middle line joins the two lines of Chesed and Gevurah, which are opposites. So he said Vakiba Resha V'Sofa, that's bringing the end together and making it one with the beginning with the end. In other words, the head with the tail coming together. This is the main root of Vodas Hashem Be'emes, the true service of Hashem. Now, in Kabbalah, this is also called the Yichud, or Zivug, or mating. Now, let's read it in English. The general idea of rectification, tikkun, is that the lower world should be connected with the higher world until all of them are attached to the infinite one. Then it can be said that all is one. This is the completion of the middle, and the completion of the beginning, and the completion of the end. And in truth, this is fundamental point of serving Hashem, is of bringing everything into complete and total harmony. Rabbi Mimran writes, if you want to visualize nothingness in a meditative state, you would have to take this perception of nothingness and bring it into your mind's eye. Now, we've been talking about the mind's eye and contemplation. So how is it possible for us to imagine nothing? In a normal state of consciousness, that would be impossible. But in higher states of consciousness, with training and practice, it can become accomplished. Indeed, in a number of systems of meditation, it is an important practice. For one thing, filling the mind with nothingness is a highly effective way of clearing it of all perception. Now, the question is, how do you do this? How does one contemplate nothingness? There are some experiences that are so subtle that even the visualization of blackness or empty space could overshadow them. However, when the mind is filled with the experience of nothingness, it is open to the most subtle influences. One of the influences that the mind can detect while visualizing nothingness is the spiritual. There's a world beyond us. In such a state, the spiritual can appear very spectacular, since the nothingness in the mind can be filled with that which comes from without. He calls it from the without. Of course, visualizing nothingness is a highly advanced technique. How, in fact, do you do this? The spiritual, however, can be experienced on much simpler levels. Indeed, there appears to be an area of the mind that is particularly receptive to the spiritual experience. Sometimes, without warning, a person can have a spiritual experience that leaves him awestruck or exhilarated. A more intense spiritual experience can have a profound effect on a person's life. Let me read this again. He said that there appears to be an area of the mind that is particularly receptive to the spiritual experience. So the question is how to open up that door. Sometimes, without warning, a person can have a spiritual experience that leaves him awestruck or exhilarated. A more intense spiritual experience can have a profound effect on a person's entire life. One immediate effect of mantra meditation, now this once again he gave the example, Rabbi Kaplan gave an example of saying Ribono Shel Olam softly over and over again, is to relax the body. In this form of meditation, it seems that the more the body relaxes, the more active the mind becomes. It is as the energy is released by the body, which can be used by the mind. When one repeats a mantra over and over, the mind also becomes habituated to it. Eventually, one becomes able to say the mantra without the words registering in the conscious mind. By this time, one has also formed the habit of erasing all thought from the mind while reciting the mantra. It is therefore a highly effective psychological means of removing all thought from the mind. Now he's giving us a practical lesson in how to remove extraneous thoughts from our mind by concentrating on a mantra. This may seem quite mundane and non-mystical. However, the mantra does not necessarily have to be the mystical element in the meditation. The mantra can serve as a means of clearing the mind of mundane thought, leaving it open to other transcendental experiences that are passing through, which may be a much higher plane. This can be true no matter how non-physical that mantra is. He says, indeed, certain types of clinical meditation. Now, what is clinical meditation? A nonsense word can be used as the mantra. Just take any word, a word from nowhere. Take the word nonsense. Nevertheless, if the mantra has spiritual power in its own right, that is, a mantra itself, it not only clears the mind of mundane thought, but also puts the meditator, the person who's meditating, into a special spiritual space. The form of the mantra can be extremely important if one wishes to accomplish a specific spiritual goal during one's meditation. Although mantra meditation is not the most typical Jewish form of meditation, it is one of the simplest. It's as in general meditation, so it's very easy to understand that you could repeat the word of Ribono Shel Olam, and you could take other words, say them over and over and over again for the time limit he said. It is one of the simplest, and in general meditation, it consists of repeating a word or a phrase over and over, usually per period of half an hour each day. The most important element of the meditation is that it be done daily and that there is a commitment to continue the practice for at least a month. It usually takes between 30 and 40 days for the results of this type of meditation to manifest. This is Baruch Fleischman. Those are the words of Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran on meditation.